Hey everyone, my guest today is Laurence Ion. Laurence is one of the founding stewards of VitaDao. VitaDao, that is a crypto token that invests in longevity. So that means when people buy this token, the money is gathered in a big pot and the collective, so everybody that owns a token, decides what it's going to be invested in. And this token, it invests in early longevity research. So a point where there's not so much funding right now. During the episode, Laurence is going to explain in more detail how this actually works. Also, Laurence was one of the core organizers of Zuzalu City and one of the co-initiators of Vitalia City. If you have never heard about them, no problem. Those so-called pop-up cities are based on the idea of the network state. So that means that an online community that is maybe based on a common interest or a common moral belief gets together and lives at one physical place together. And right now, this is still pop-up. So it means that maybe 200, 300 people come together for 1, 2, or 3 months and live at the same place, and then they move away from each other. But as Laurence will explain in the interview, this has the vision of creating later permanent spaces where people can actually permanently live together. And the cool thing is that those pop-up cities are actually also connected to longevity. So for example, Vitalia City, the pop-up city that is now a bit permanent in Rotan, that Laurence helped to initiate, it was really focused on the goal to solve aging. And now this interview happened because Laurence and me, we both help organize a new pop-up city in Berlin. It's going to happen in 1 month. It's called Zelar City, and there are also people from all over the world that want to work on solving aging, come together for 6 weeks and work on this goal. So it doesn't mean that everybody has to work on the same thing for 6 weeks. No, you come there and you work on your project, you connect with other people, maybe you find a project, maybe you start a startup, maybe you just sit and work on your project and have just dinner with people that really want to solve aging. So in this interview, we're going to talk about Laurence's experience with VitaDao, his thoughts on network states, his experience with pop-up cities, and also just about general longevity and his thoughts on those topics. Enjoy. How about we start with you telling us a bit about yourself, like a 5-minute summary of who you are and what you're working on currently.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited about Zelar. I am a longevity advocate and entrepreneur, investor, just on a mission to cure aging, or die trying, basically. I love life, and I don't think I would want to die as long as I'm healthy. So the priority is that we ensure that medicine can do what it's kind of supposed to do, which is keep us healthy, avoid disease. I want freedom from disease, especially. You can't really have freedom without freedom from disease. I have some experience with it because most young people don't know. Everyone says health is the most important thing, right? But most young people think they're invincible. They never really had health issues, and those come later in life when people wake up and realize, holy shit, like I'm old, and the medicine that I would need isn't there. I'm grateful that I was present to how it feels like to be sick and frail, and I have all these joint issues. I have a rare disease, and I grew up with a lot of surgeries, spent a lot of time in hospitals. So it's got me onto this path to want to do something about this problem of aging and death. Just decided to change my career from tech, entrepreneurship, startups, to do at least something to help this movement. Worst case, at least I advance things a little bit. Even advancing the field by 1 day means 110,000 lives are saved, because that's how many people die every day from aging. Also, maybe medium term in my life, with more biotech advancements, I can solve some of my health issues. Yeah, hopefully we solve it fully by the time even my parents are gone. Like my deadline is 2044. It's about 20 years from now. Yeah, that we have it under control.
Okay.
People don't die anymore from aging. We at least give them a few more years, and then in those years we give them more, and so on. Regarding my kind of career into it, it's been more like a lot of learning, trying to figure out how I can help most, investing, trying to get more people that could advise me where to put money, and that kind of morphed into realizing there aren't enough startups. So I thought, okay, let's fund more research. I was also into crypto, so I kind of thought there's this huge overlap between crypto and longevity. So let's bring the crypto money in a native way, make a token or something for longevity, to fund, kind of just to donate to labs, but then kind of merged with VitaDao because there's this model where the DAO can actually own the IP that comes out. So you fund early stage stuff, but translational. You bring it, and that's what actually is needed to create new startups. You don't just publish more papers. You take that expertise from academia and you do more drug development and just pharma kind of. It's a bit different than what academia does. Advance that thing to some kind of IP that can be patented. It can be spun out into companies, and biotech VCs can invest, and eventually, hopefully, pharma out licenses, takes it through clinical trials. So that's where VitaDao fits in. People get this Vita token, put in capital basically, or put in their work, and they get the Vita token, and each token gives you one vote for what the organization does, with, of course, this mission of advancing longevity therapies. Realized that one of our projects got advanced enough that it could be put into humans, and realized regulations are a huge bottleneck. It takes a decade, at least a decade usually, to make a new drug, bring a new drug to market, and billions of dollars. And pharma doesn't really get this new approach to medicine of managing your instead of the usual thing of managing symptoms, to actually tackle the root cause, which is aging, right? And stop or reverse aging, so you prevent the diseases like, or reverse the diseases like Alzheimer's and cancer and heart disease and so on. So this is a bit of an issue. I was into this whole idea of seasteading and starting new countries and so on, and the network state movement was growing a lot. So, and then Vitalia came up with this idea of a pop-up city. So let's try, instead of just chatting online, let's come together in person and live together for 2 months in a pop-up city. So I got involved to co-create Zuzalu in Montenegro last year. We brought 200 people for 2 months in this close proximity in a resort, a bit isolated, and seeing how it feels like to live together. It was life-changing, having healthy food available, having amazing, smart, like-minded people, exploring all these ideas of how it would look like to build a new city. So that kind of led me into doubling down and starting Vitalia, a city that's really focused on making death optional. And we went to a special jurisdiction on Roatan, clinical trials much faster. So instead of taking over a decade, vaccines usually take like 15 years. You have operation warp speed for COVID took only a few months, or like 8 months. It could be done in 4 months. I was like, okay, let's just do warp speed for aging. And instead of needing billions of dollars, you can do it much more cheaply, in a special jurisdiction where we can be self-experimenters. We want to live longer. We want to try these things and have the freedom to basically make informed choices with our bodies. And that can really advance medicine. Yeah, I'm more focused now on bringing people in person, growing this movement, so there are more pop-up cities like Zelar City.
Okay, that sounds super interesting. Maybe coming back to VitaDao, like while you were talking about it, like I had some like question for clarification. Like today I'm not so much in the crypto community, and I imagine that maybe some of the listeners are also not so much. So the idea is basically that people invest in this token by either putting money in or putting their time of work in.
They contribute to the organization, right? Either capital or work.
Yes,
and they can buy the token. Of course, anyone can buy the token. I think it's the only way to really put capital towards longevity, because usually there's like okay, you can donate to some foundations. You can invest in early stage startups only if you're an accredited investor, or you can invest in VC funds only if you're an accredited investor. So like at least $1 million worth net worth or stuff like that. Like there's regulations around these private companies, and donations usually just kind of foundations that kind of do basic research. But if you really want to bridge that gap between early stage and a startup, VitaDao is kind of the only way in which anyone, literally, just you can put $1 right into it, just buying this token. Or of course, it's permissionless to contribute. It's this big community of over 10,000 people. Anyone can just join the Discord, get chatting, see what's what we're working on, join one of the squads, or basically working groups where there's a lot of work to do, and there's leads for those pods that decide if you or also of course you can, maybe the lead doesn't want you to work with them in their specific pod, but you can propose your own pod, and like any idea you have that would drive the organization forward, you can propose it and get a budget, but at least tokens, but maybe even, of course, people do get paid. It's not just like tokens, pretend money in crypto or something like that.
And then this money, so essentially what the organization mainly does is it invests in early stage startups, right?
I would say it funds early stage aging research to spin out new companies more. We did fund a bunch of existing startups too, but our focus is more on creating new startups. So taking stuff that is just basically academic idea, paper, and so on, and advancing that where it can be protected and invested into later.
And the idea is that by that you, on one hand, enhance the speed of discovery because you put money in the place where other people don't put money, and on the other hand, if there's actually a success, you or the collective owns the IP, so the intellectual property, and they will make money off that, and that will make the token even more valuable.
It grows. Well, it grows the treasury. So we have these assets, right? And it's just instead of just giving all the money away and then having to raise more money can come back and we can fund more research and so on, and it just can keep growing. And of course, you can govern. Ideally, we will govern billions of dollars worth of treasury and decide what we do with all that money. Of course, ideally, more impact until we solve the problem of aging and death. And after that, we'll see what we do.
Okay. So then the next thing you were talking about, Zuzalu City. So if I understand right, Zuzalu was like the first of its kind, right? So it's the first time that this idea of the network state of people that are essentially an online community, they come together and they live at the same place. Can you tell something?
So I think people do come together to live like in a hacker house, co-living space where there's maybe 10, 20 people, right? But this was like an order of magnitude more. It's 200. And then people also come together for a conference. Hundreds, thousands of people come together, but only for a few days. This was an order of magnitude. It was a few months. So it's just something a bit different, a bit new, close to a college campus and a conference, something like that. Like, so we were learning together, living together, but very intentional. Something unique.
How was it like to be there, like in Zuzalu? Or I think you were already part of like way more, like with Vitalia, and I don't know if you also been part of other pop-up villages or cities. Can you maybe tell something about your experience?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, of course, you also sometimes share a house. So it's love living with people, but some people had like private houses. But just like also just walking out of your house and walking around and like seeing like-minded people, having awesome conversations with just anyone you bump into versus walking around your regular city. I'm now in San Francisco and it's amazing community and so on, but if I walk around, it's not like I want to talk to everyone. It's also like just random people that I don't really have much in common with. And so it's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just life-changing to just know you can, it just also feels close, community, and maybe also it was a very successful experiment. It was just 2 months in Zuzalu. We had a very similar experience in Vitalia, but even more so because we had this clear mission. Like Zuzalu is more exploration, AI, crypto, longevity, various people from various fields, a lot of cross-pollination, great too, more like a campus where you have a lot of exchange. And in Vitalia, we had also a lot of cross-pollination because there were people from various fields, but at least we had alignment and a clear mission. What we're doing, we're solving aging, and we can do these clinical trials now because we have a special jurisdiction. Unfortunately, things didn't go too well, and I'm now looking for, there were some issues, and now I'm looking for new special jurisdiction. But meanwhile, my main goal is to keep growing this movement. And I have gone to other pop-up cities like Zanzalu in Zanzibar, talked to the government there, Aleph Crecimiento in Argentina, talked to some government people there to potentially create that special jurisdiction. And I'm so excited about pop-up cities that are a bit different. Like Zelar is unique because it's in a big city like Berlin, where there's already a big community and people already love living there. But you find your tribe, like you go there and you live with like-minded people, or at least you might live nearby, but come for the co-working, and you have healthy food and you have exercise together, keep each other accountable. Of course, co-working, starting companies together, co-creating. Super exciting that then it can become a permanent members club, right? Like a country club where you go, not just in this pop-up city, but long term. That's I really hope by the end of November 17th, we will have some kind of long-term lease somewhere, maybe in the same location, maybe another one, but we have enough members to kind of have a sustainable place, go-to place, Soho House kind of for longevity, maybe co-living too, but not necessarily, at least a place where you can have events, you can come hang out between like a third place between your work and your house, or just different levels of involvement. And I want to see this in every major city happen.
Yeah, I would love that. Like something was around, I would have known about this earlier. I would have gone on it earlier. Like for me, my only connection in the beginning was like what I heard about was Prospera, so in Rotan and Vitalia. And for me, this sounded like so cool to have like a group of people that are all working on the same goal, like maybe in different places, but like all working at the same goal in the same place. So you said that you know
Los Alamos
also
was the original one, I think, right? Where they had the top physicists all come
yeah
to a city. They built like a new city quickly in like a few weeks or months, I don't know, where it looked more like a trailer park or something, but or like, just temporary housing, which is fine. We don't need like from the beginning to have like Dubai skyscrapers. We maybe like I hope eventually we will, without minus the vanity and Lamborghinis, but at least at the beginning we can look more like Los Alamos in my opinion. But of course that so far we've only kind of rented resorts and it looked great, but that's not the point. But yeah, having top physicists come together to solve a crisis like having to create a nuclear bomb, Manhattan Project to win the war, that's great. I think we should have the same outlook. Like this is war against aging. This is a crisis, bigger crisis than COVID, and maybe larger society will not understand that, because I don't expect people to think, holy shit, aging is a problem. It's normal to not hope for like a crazy idea like this that it will work. Most people didn't hope that we can fly, right? Like top physicists said that heavier than air flying machines are impossible even after the Wright brothers flew. They just didn't believe it. So I expect that wider society won't necessarily agree, but that's why we have a subset of people that can come live together and work on this huge problem together. Much more cohesive.
yeah. So you say you are also talking to different governments, so like around the world you're also trying to build like this but permanent, like kind of
Yeah,
like
because
Vitalia is, or
kind of like Vitalia, but I'll have to come up with a new name. We will have a new brand, because we're splitting into two basically. But we need a place where at least on like ideally multiple places where we can do these advanced clinical trials. We won't be able to do them in Berlin, but it's important to also have a global network. A lot of people will be just online. Some people will come in person to some meetups or so on, but some people will be members in this members club or come to these pop-up cities. And then a subset of those will move to the frontier, like the new West. And most people won't, right? It's scary to go to a place that's new and undeveloped, and you have to take a chance.
yeah. So do you already have like I don't know, like I'm super interested. Do you have like some locations where you are talking to governments, or is that still like
Yeah, I've been talking to a few governments. We're still I'm still hopeful with Montenegro that we'll develop something, but it's a bit slow. I like Zanzibar, but it's a bit far, so TBD on that. Argentina is interesting. It's a big country, so I'm not holding my breath, but there's huge potential. Then there's a few other countries which it's kind of super early discussions. Like I'm hoping to soon talk to the leadership. There's Indian tribes, like in the US, for example, you can create a interstate compact if you have a deal between a tribe and a state, and you can create a zone that's where the FDA doesn't apply. Like you can have a different rules there, Because usually the federal regulations still apply inside the Indian tribes, sovereign zones. They're not that sovereign, but you can create a zone where you have a different regulatory system, which is that's what we're trying to do. Like, try a sandbox, see if it works faster. And I think it's easy to be faster than the current system.
Yeah, yeah.
As we've seen with COVID, we did it much faster, right? So like, it's possible.
When you were younger, you experienced like what frailty is like.
Yeah, I still have issues. I'm not like most young people where they're completely healthy. I'm fine-ish, right? But I do feel like an old person, kind of, with all my joint issues and so on, pain.
So yeah, so that's kind of what got you into like aging and longevity.
I mean, it's hard to say, right? Because I've been interested in all kinds of sci-fi things and transhumanism and futurist. I want to see the future. I just have this immense love for life and existence and so on.
Yes.
But it's hard to deny that maybe also because I've had these issues, health issues, I've maybe been more likely to want to focus on solving aging diseases, biotech. And I love biology, honestly. I've loved it since I was a kid. I went to like Olympiad for biology.
What do you think is the biggest problem or the biggest bottleneck that we have in longevity right now that definitely needs to be solved?
I think generally in biotech, the gene delivery problem. We want to do all these gene therapies and we only hit a little small part of tissues. We want to hit basically the whole body with new genes that we want to introduce or change or just, gene therapies delivery is a huge thing. Would make everything so much better, and any kind of drug, any disease that we want to solve, or any enhancement, even like intelligence enhancement, any kind of performance enhancement, everything. It would allow us to control our biology a lot more. And of course, that's a tool that would be so valuable for aging.
If there's a group of really dedicated people, like for example, we'll come together in Zelar City, working together, do you see like some gaps that could be tackled by such a group?
Yeah, I think they could figure out ways to learn quickly from experiments, maybe even with humanoid organoids, just figure out how to make a tool for others to easily develop therapies much faster. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's like a lot of the things that come to mind that are important seem to me like they would take a huge effort. But actually, if you look at history, it can happen that a small group can figure something out that seems huge, but they figure it out. So actually, even if you're a small group, just tackle the biggest problems. Why not?
Maybe coming back a bit to Zelar City, is there something that you're most excited about for the 6 weeks in Berlin?
Seeing all the beautiful people that are coming and hanging out and making connections, making best friends, and all the amazing companies that are going to come out, all the virality of it. I think everyone will then tell to others, spread the word, and the movement will grow. I'm excited to have that space in Berlin. Whenever I'm in Berlin, and I'm there quite often, I want to have a place to go and potentially live, but at least hang out and have like-minded people there. I don't want to spend too much time with normies anymore that are not into living longer. It's like so silly to me.
Yeah. Do you have any specific plans of what you want to do in the 6 weeks of Zelar City?
I want to talk to everyone, contribute to their life, help everyone figure out how to have their best impact or what's holding them back, find locations for us to have that permanent hub. If not that location, just look at a few options.
What advice would you give to like a young, driven individual that wants to solve aging or that wants to contribute, like maybe not solve it by himself, but like or herself? Yeah. Is there anything that you would advise this person?
Well, talk to me so I can give you more specific advice. I'm reachable. One general thing is be relentless. Talk to the people that you hear about. Reach out to them. Don't worry. They usually are available to talk and guide you. So yeah, relentlessness is a big one where people are like afraid to ask a lot of things. A lot of times, just don't be afraid of rejection. Just reach out to a bunch of people and expect that some might not see it, might not reply. It's fine. The point is you get a few to talk to you and they will guide you. Be relentless in trying to contribute as well. Like you see organizations like VitaDao, like Zelar, and so on. Keep coming up with ideas, coming up with proposals. Don't just ask, hey, how can I help? Right? Also just keep in touch, and so you'll notice gaps. You might come with feedback and ideas like, oh, I see this issue. I can solve it this way, or just keep checking in like with ideas of how you could contribute.
Yeah, I really like that. It was not a purely selfless question. Laurence, what is your passion? Like, what is the thing that you like doing most?
Learning, I think, is just, I just love existence, and I'm in awe of various things that I learn. Like even just being, honestly, like just meditating and just existence is amazing. But then I also get curiosities and so on. So I love learning, right? And then also I really love connecting with people. A lot of it is learning about people, learning about myself through other people and so on. But a lot of it is just, it just feels amazing.
What do you want to do if we solve aging?
I want to keep living and exploring and seeing the future.
Okay.
Keep an open mind to what might be. And when I say I mean, I currently have this ego that wants to see the future, but I'm open to also some other form of transhuman being, right? Like where we might be,
Yes.
if we have like Neuralink kind of thing where we're communicating at speed of thought, where does me end and where does you begin? Like, I don't know, like it might be a gestalt of different type of entity that is not even an I, but I still want to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I might not like that, but still, instead of dying, it's like a chance that, I don't know, I just want to see it. I FOMO.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm also super curious. Like I'm sometimes thinking we're like trying so hard not to die, and then like at some point we'll like kind of maybe merge with like some artificial intelligence or with
We
other
die
people.
I think we change anyway. Like
yes,
every 5-10 years, we're a different person kind of, and every time we go to sleep, we wake up, are we the same person? I don't know. It's just a little bit different, I think. So
I do agree, but I'm super curious. I really would
instead of just like, I don't want to like grip to and then be like, first of all, it's not about fear of death. It's not about like gripping to ego or life. It's just like I might have a preference to see what happens and so on. And it's not just fear of missing out of the future. It's also just, I don't know, it's a paradox. Like if I die, I'm dead, so I won't care. I didn't care before I was born. I won't care after I'm dead. But that kind of sort of, that's one of the options, and that's it. It ends, and it doesn't make it. Just the only option that kind of makes sense for me is living and continuing living. And honestly, every form of life always wants to continue living. Like you see, any animal gets away from danger, even humans, right? Like if even someone who might be depressed, if there's an accident, they will swerve away usually, except when they actually decide to kill themselves, which is, I think, unfortunate, and a lot of people that do attempt suicide actually regret it and change their mind, and they survive and they say, oh shit, I changed my mind right when I jumped off the building. And so I do think about preventing suicide too, but at the same time, you do want to give the people the option that eventually, if they don't die from aging, at least they should have the option to maybe at least go into cryopreservation and like put a pause on life. Maybe they don't like it now. Maybe they wake up in 1,000 years and it's more interesting and better, or any chemical imbalance in their brain might be solved later. I would never really stop it fully, but
I really
don't
like
think
this idea. I never thought about that. I always thought that like at some point will want to kill myself, but not in a way that it's like super sad or anything, but in a way that I'm like, well, now I've seen enough, kind of. Like now it's like I'm ready to die. But like this idea with the cryopreservation, like it sounds super interesting.
Yeah, maybe
just,
you've
like,
seen enough for
skip
now,
a
and you
few
don't even
thousand.
know what you don't know, or also it might be some merger of entities, and it's not even gonna be your ego, but you get woken up from cryo and you get merged into this other thing. I don't know. The things that you don't think about are sort of opportunities that why close the door fully? And then also I'm not gonna say that it should be. Of course, we shouldn't forbid suicide. There are suicide cults, like cults that just do like a big orgy and then drink something. They all kill themselves. I think it might be an issue. Like we want to make sure that they're deceived into it. There's a lot of delusion out there, but it brings a lot of questions about freedom of choice and so on. Of course, we want to preserve freedom, but also freedom to die if that's what you really want.
Yeah, I do agree. Okay, so we reached our time now. Do you want to say some last things for the people listening?
Yes, I would say don't just hypothesize and think and so on. Don't just sit there. Also do something. At least join one of the communities. Don't just consume content. Maybe just start meeting people. VitaDao servers you join. I think Zelar City also it's pretty open to just join at least the online community. Of course, it's ideal if you actually also come in person to. I think that's really the way to do it. Come in person to something like Zelar City or any future ones if you can make it between October and November.
Okay.
This is important. It's life and death. Do something about it. At least at least a retweet every few weeks or months. Just if we have millions of people doing something, we will act as a force in the world and change the world to our liking.
Thank you a lot, Laurence. I really enjoyed that. So that was my conversation with Laurence Ion. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you're interested in Zelar City, you can look in the description. I put some links in there. Laurence is going to be there. I'm going to be there. A bunch of other cool people are going to be there. I hope to see you there or in the next interview. Bye-bye.